To tweet us, it's Newsroom405. The hashtag is newsfeed. I am Thabo Mdluli, and of course, Zuma testifies on 405 is another hashtag that certainly can follow. We like to keep in touch with what is happening on social media as we track sentiment on Twitter and how you are reacting to the top stories of the day. We've got our digital content team here with us now. Not one delay, Mhlongo, this time around, Walele Mhlongo, and he's joining us to talk a little bit about what they are seeing in terms of the content that's being created. It's good to see you.
Afternoon, it's very great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
What's been leading throughout the day?
Today has been a bit strange, as much as we had anticipated that state capture would be a topic of interest. It hasn't been. The musician Johnny Clegg, his passing has seemed to touch more people than anything else. I also do believe that maybe people were a little bit disappointed last night by the events of state capture. After the first day where files came out and people were spoken about, names were dropped, there was a slight expectation that more would come in the second day. And that didn't seem to be the case. It seemed to be more of a question and answer.
Well, very little answers.
Yes.
I think I saw one tweet saying, well, folks are a little bit disappointed with the I don't recall, no, I don't know, I could not have known. They expect a little bit more meatier stuff.
Yes, for sure. People were disappointed. So initially, everyone had the idea that he knows a lot of information and that he was coming to disclose information rather than coming to give us a history lesson as he did in the first day and then answer questions. You know, as much as, yes, the questions were relatively good questions that were asked, the answers were not satisfactory by any means of the imagination. And this is not to say that we expected him to come and tell the full story, maybe even expose himself. No, that wasn't the case. But there was a slight expectation that more would come out of it, that more would be said, that more would be learned from the entire experience. We believed and had the expectation that we would come out of the state capture inquiry with at least enough of the story to be able to make our own assumptions or decisions or yes.
Well, it's on 4 million impressions. I wonder what the impressions look like today. But let's talk about the White Zulu, the icon, the philanthropist, the freedom fighter, anthropologist. He is a brilliant artist. And let's look at the impressions there. What were the impressions and what's the sentiment?
So in terms of impressions, he did exceptionally well today. As we can see there in front of us, there's 10 million in terms of reach and 15 million impressions. With his impact, a lot of the sentiment has been very positive. As much as it's been a sad event, people have reacted to it or retaliated to the news in a way that they are more grateful for what he has done than saddened by his passing. His impact to the country, we see tweets where people are saying things like, you were the true legend that united our country, that in the times where people were shy of speaking out, specifically people of his race, were shy of speaking out and saying certain things, he came out and was very brave and very bold. He embraced a culture and merged cultures to an extent.
Let's look at the word cloud. These are some of the words that are coming out in that graphic that we're looking at. So what were the people talking about?
So the word cloud that you see on right now has to do with the State Commission. You see words like Gupta, of course, as you expect, because the Guptas are a very, very big part of the conversation with regards to the state capture inquiry. We see the evidence. People were expecting Zuma to come a little more prepared, as much as he had asked to be let know of the questions and such things before he came on. They were expecting he was going to come with evidence, come with recordings, come with, you know, files of some sorts, just to solidify the claims that he would bring to the table. We see words like commission, yes, state, former deputy, he was the former president, we are aware of that, and ask, state, Zuma. These are all things that tell and paint a picture of their own, not only what people are expecting, but what people have received. If it had turned out a different way, we would see words like with the first day, where we're seeing names of the actual implicated politicians and spies, so to speak.
Yes.
Whereas today, it's more about claims, as you see in the bottom.
Right.
Under chief, it's written claim.
Yes.
It's feeling to some extent like the claims are not going to be proven,
Okay.
or there's nothing that is going to
come out
solidify,
of
yes,
this testimony.
of this testimony, yes.
Right.
And
Let's look at the sentiment graphic as well, and how it is split in terms of the feeling. And this, of course, is a graphic that has got to do with the passing of Jenny Clegg, right?
no, this is the state capture.
This is the state capture.
Yes.
So we are seeing a positive 11%, a large part neutral, and 44% there being negative. Let's start with the positive, right? 11%. What sort of things are you saying there? I mean, what sort of words would read as positive, or comment would read as positive?
In this specific case or scenario, the positivity is the excitement around him actually coming. There was the doubts before the week began that, would he appear? Would it get to a point where he says, I've had enough of this, I'm not going to continue? So people are excited that he has come out and that he has opened himself out. As much as today it has somewhat fallen apart, the positivity around it is just him coming out. The supporters, the fans, were proud of the former president, and that specific part of the sentiment speaks to the fan base necessarily of the former president Jacob Zuma. The neutrality and the negativity, however, are relatively big.
Yeah.
That sentiment of negativity, 44%, is not something that we see often. This speaks a lot to how disappointed people are by the events that have happened.
So how would you then describe somebody who is neutral on the topic?
Someone that is neutral about the topic is someone that speaks on the topic without words like good, bad, happy, unhappy, certain keywords that identify as being happy or unhappy, as being bad, neutral, or negative. The neutrality is just statements about it. Oh, the former president came out today. That would be considered a neutral statement, as it doesn't give much in terms of positivity and or negativity. In fact, it doesn't give much emotion away at all. Yes.
All right. Okay. And then in terms of the gender split, which is another very interesting one, what are we seeing? Are we seeing more males, more females focused on state capture and what's coming out of there?
In general, we see a lot more males tweeting. Males seem to interact a lot more and interact aggressively. As we can see on our screens, it's a 67% to a 33% split. However, this 33% for females is actually quite large. The only other time that the females, or on the sentiment and gender split, that we see a high volume was with Serena Williams losing in the final.
Yes.
Things like that where it's full engagement. Also, with the passing of a Johnny Clegg, they will see a very big female engagement. However, with topics of this nature, I apologize for Uyajola 99.
Yes.
I know that this is not a very politically inclined conversation, but with conversations like that...
those are the type of conversations that I want you to bring here on the show. But I'll let you do that one, Ella, for today. Go for it.
No, that's the type of conversation, or that is one of the few conversations where we see females having a bigger impression than males.
Yeah.
Those are the only form of conversations where females are engaging a lot more aggressively than males. With conversations like these, we generally tend to find that the males are the viewers, the engagers. I would say they don't fear, to some extent, the repercussions or whatever replies that they will get in this type of scenario.
All right, Wanade, let me thank you so much for coming through and sharing that information with us. Of course, the biggest story today is that of the commission adjourning because the legal teams of both parties wanting to have some time to work out a way in which they can work together and accommodate each other going forward. The nub of the matter is, of course, former President Jacob Zuma interjecting during the questions, and he highlights the fact that he's got a problem with the line of questioning. And the way that he puts it, he says, I am being questioned on details that DGs and officials, or maybe a cabinet secretary should be able to know, things that are in diaries, when meetings happened, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and this is really unfair information that you expect me to remember, because ultimately this is going to have an impact on your findings because of the answers that I will be able to give on these issues. He has had no problem with, of course, saying, I don't remember, I don't recall. And that is a liberty that he has been given, by the way, by the chair of the commission. And the chair keeps on repeating that, saying, I have no problem where you do not recall, saying, I do not know, or I don't recollect, I'm not sure whether that happened or not. This has always been, of course, an option that is available to him. However, feeling that in this particular matter of, for example, the reports coming from Barbara Hogan stating exactly how, for example, Siyabonga Gama was appointed to the SOE, that is Transnet, saying, you know, I have a problem with having to answer those questions because, for example, I'm not familiar with that particular report. This, of course, saw the legal teams then retreating to the chambers of the Deputy Chief Justice to have a little conversation. I think coming out of there, Senior Counsel Advocate Moses Kakane is saying, it feels like you brought the president here under false pretense, and at this point I want us to adjourn so I can have a word with my client on whether or not we continue with this process. They adjourned, and on their return, the decision was that they will adjourn for the day and not sit tomorrow, but the commission will then sit on Friday morning. That is where we are on that story. A quick